my brother and myself. My name is Roger Allred, and I'm a CPA. My brother says the acronym stands for B-O-R-I-N-G. But nevertheless, I'm a business consultant. I'm also a bankruptcy trustee. I'm also something that's been called a SINK. Now, many of you have heard of DINKs, I'm sure, but I'm a SINK. A DINK is a dual income, no kids. You've heard that? We're a single income, 9 kids. So being a bankruptcy trustee and having 9 kids, I can tell you I understand problem resolution. My brother, Russ Allred, is a marketing consultant. He graduated in marketing from Cal State Long Beach, but we won't hold that against him. And he worked for several other companies, making serious amounts of money for them. Decided he ought to do it for himself, so he joined me, and we formed Allred and Associates. Russ is also an amateur actor, and he was in the starring role of the Music Man as Professor Harold Hill. And if you remember Professor Harold Hill, he sang the song, "Oh, We Got Trouble," right here in River City, with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for Power Tools. And Power Tools is what we're going to talk about today. We have a hands-on demonstration to show you what we mean by the business principles that we teach. This comes from our years of experience consulting with businesses in Bakersfield and Kern County and outside of the area. And we have literally brought millions of dollars to the bottom lines of our clients. We incorporated our Power Tools, there are 275 business strategies, into a book that we'll be publishing in the near future. And we intend to teach some of those principles at this conference. So, I would like to start with how a business starts out. A business starts out producing, production. That's what that P stands for production. So when you're in business for yourself, you start out producing. And, you know, a lot of people do pretty well for the first little while, producing. They know how to do the producing. After a while of producing, they start making a little money. So then they have to start accounting. So now they're accounting and producing and accounting and producing. Remember I asked for a juggler? Well, this is what I needed before. Thank you. You start making a lot of money, and so then you start to have to manage employees. And those of you with employees, you know that that's a difficult task. So you got to keep producing so you keep the flow of money coming in. But the accounting, that's boring stuff, so you kind of hold that in the background. You're still kind of juggling, but, you know, every once in a while it gets a little difficult. Thank you. Then you decide, hey, I'm not making enough money to pay for all these employees, and so now you've got to start marketing. How about that? You're marketing now. So you've got your accounting, you got to continue to do these things, so you're going to continue to market and account and produce. And then you say, well, now that I'm starting to make some money, I have protection strategies that I have to do. Insurance, legal liability, so we just heard a presentation on sexual harassment. You've got to protect yourself, so you've got accounting, production, marketing. It's very difficult to keep these things going. Then comes often the killer for businesses. You have your wife, your kids, your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law working for the business, and you introduce the family aspect. And the family aspect is what oftentimes kills a business, because the family members can't seem to get along. So now you've got these balls, and you're trying to keep your business going, and you start juggling, and that's what happens. That is a demonstration of a problem company, and that is not all that atypical. Being a bankruptcy trustee, I can tell you that these types of problems happen all the time. My brother and I was the bankruptcy trustee, he worked on the same case with me. It involved a company that was excellent at production. They did what they did very, very well, and they were recognized throughout the state and in neighboring states for what they did. Their problem is that they didn't really have anyone to do accounting, so they brought the sister-in-law who didn't know anything about accounting, so she hired her daughter who knew a little bit about accounting, and so we started having family problems. And then we hired the other son to take care of the customers, but they really didn't understand customer relationships, And the parents, the people that founded the business, were getting a little bit older and a little bit crotchety in their old age, and they didn't really want to change with the times, which they had to change with, and they didn't like all these new labor laws coming in, and it created a mess. So happened that because they didn't do their accounting very well, they ended up with a $1 million liability to the IRS for payroll taxes. And those payroll taxes are not dismissible in a bankruptcy action. So I was called in to be the trustee. This is what we found. A business that did production excellently, but kind of bobbled the balls. What they really needed, and what businesses today really need, are power tools.
Our parents are from a little mountain town in Wyoming called Star Valley. And our grandfather grew up there. He built the house that my father lived in. And he was a merchant by trade, I suppose, and he always wore a shirt and tie into town. But when he would come home, he would put on these overalls, and these were the very overalls that he wore. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and they're putting them on backward. He would come home, take off his tie, and beautiful day in the neighborhood. Here we go. And he'd put on his overalls and he'd go out to his shop. Now what grandfather lacked in formal education, he made up for in common sense. And he would go out into his shop and he would build things. And I remember going out into this shop, and it was a ramshackle old place, you know, and old tools laying around all in there. And he had this one tool that was a doweling awl. I think that's what it was called. All by hand. You'd put a square piece of wood into this doweling awl and spin it around, and it would form a dowel. But everything was done by hand. Now, we've put together this little demonstration, and I need a volunteer from the audience. I volunteered one of you over there. Would you come up here and help me? This mustache. Yeah. Okay. Big strapping guy, right? If you would take that screwdriver, we're going to have a little. Come on right over here. Stand right here. This is your side. Big strapping guy. He works, fixes televisions, right? Lugging around heavy televisions. I, on the other hand, am a simple business consultant. I sit at a computer all day. Very scrawny little guy. We're going to have a little competition. But I am so confident that I could beat this big strapping muscular man in this screw driving competition that I'm going to give you a head start. All of these screws have been started, drilled in, and tapped and pulled back out, so it should be very easy for you. So if you go ahead and start, I'll give you a 2-screw head start. And the muscles start flaring, and this is very impressive. Macho, macho, mega. Here you go. Never driven in these screws on this side. Here we go. Oh, we're down to the last screw. Can we do it? You can see, ladies and gentlemen, in order to compete in today's economy, you must use power tools. Thank you very much for helping me.
I'm sorry that you had to be set up like that, but we needed somebody to set up. Well, power tools are effective. They're effective in businesses. Businesses need extra help in order to compete in today's economy. I want to tell you a story of a business that we've consulted for. This business was in serious financial trouble. In fact, the attorney contacted me saying, I'd like you to go out and call on these people just to see if you can salvage them because they're talking about bankruptcy. For circumstances beyond the control of the owner, his business had lost $1 million in a single year. $1 million. Can you imagine what that would do to a business? So I went to that business and we consulted with them and talked about the things that they needed to do to turn around their focus, to get rid of the employees that were costing them money, to utilize the power tools that they had. And in a year's time, they turned around from $1 million loss to over $1 million net profit. Now, what was the difference? The difference was implementing power tools.
Another demonstration. You are all family business owners. You are successful people just because you've given it your best shot and you're trying hard and you're working. What makes a great business leader? What makes a great business leader is the ability to make decisions. And we're going to have a little exercise here in decision making. All of you can see that this is a map. We have had a lot of rainy weather. It was kind of foggy out there today. I think it's upside down. It's kind of foggy out there today. Kind of miserable here in Bakersfield. I say let's all go on vacation. Let's take a trip. And I've got the map here. Now, this is a decision-making exercise. We are all parked, I believe, out here in the parking lot. We're going to turn right, and we're going to come up to Truxton. At Truxton, which way should we turn?
Right.
Right. Why are we turning right? Is there another guess where we should turn?
Well,
Here's the map. Why should we turn left?
that way I can get back to work. So.
Well, we're going on vacation here.
Oh, yes.
We're going on
Home.
vacation.
I can get home.
Okay, so you could go home. But where should we go on vacation?
Well, that's the first thing you need to decide is what your goals are.
Exactly. Exactly. It really doesn't matter where you turn. It doesn't matter the decisions that you make. I mean, you can get your short-term goals accomplished by, well, I got to go home. That's easy. It's the long-term goal that's important. It's, well, let's go to Las Vegas. Let's go out to the coast on our vacation. But you've got to have something in your mind, a vision of where you're going. If you don't have the vision, you can't make decisions along the way. If you do have the vision, then even if you get detoured, if you make a wrong decision and you get off track a little bit, you still know in your mind, man, I've got to get back on track in order to get to where I want to go. Having a vision is an intellectual power tool.
I'd like to tell you about one of our clients that I believe has used this to their advantage. Right here in Bakersfield has a business. He is the airline charter operator at the airport. His name is Steve Lloyd. Steve is a very focused individual. He has a vision of what he wants to do, whether he's on the golf course, at a social engagement, going out for lunch. It really doesn't matter. He has a vision of what he wants out of his business and where he's going. He combines that with a real passion for what he does. He loves aviation. He loves to fly. He loves being in business. So that vision, that passion, is what really drives his business forward. He can make a wrong turn here or a wrong decision there. It really doesn't make all that much difference because he's always moving forward. He has integrated into his business the vision, the passion power tool.
Now another demonstration. You're getting used to this by now, I'm sure. Okay, we have a vision for our company. We know where we're going. We know that, well, in our case, we want to be a nationally recognized consulting firm. That's our vision, and we're going to get there. The problem is all of the little things that have to be done along the way. And I have devised this little presentation here to demonstrate that. I need another volunteer. Would somebody be willing to come up? Anybody?
You won't be humiliated this time, so there's a big plus in this
Well,
one.
you won't lose it. Anybody willing to come up and help me? Would you come up and help me? Please. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything.
There's extra money in it for you.
How much profit am I going to make?
Well,
I'll tell you what, you can put another card in our drawing box for power tools. Okay. This represents all of the money out of your business that you get to keep. This represents your resources, your time, your energy, your intelligence, your abilities. You'll notice they're finite. They are measured. All of our resources are finite. We don't have an infinite amount of resources. So this is all that you get to keep. This is all of your resources. If you come over here, and please don't electrocute me. If you take that, this represents all of the things that you've got to do. All right? Okay, pour your resources through all the things that you've got to do, and then see how much you get to keep.
But don't pour it all in there.
Well, okay.
About half of it.
Pour half of it in there. Oh, gee. Boy, we're making a big... We've got so much to do, We are losing out on everything. You know what?
You're aiming it wrong.
Okay, you can hold that. You hold that. There you go.
You better save some water.
Okay, that's good. Well, yeah, let's see. Okay, after you've done all of that work, let's see. Yeah, about $2 for your day. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, let's try that representation again. We'll use the same measured amount of resources with a little loss. We have the same things that we have to do, but in this case we have the same receptacle for what we get to keep, but in this case we have something different. We have a plan. We have something to focus our energies. And even though we have a myriad of things to do, gee, I get to keep more than you did after half the bottle. The difference, everything's the same, but a plan was in place. That's the purpose of strategic planning. A strategic plan is another intellectual power tool.
We work with a client that's now in its 2nd century of operation. For the first 100 years, they limped along and did pretty well. 1 generation, 2 generations, 3 generations, they did okay. They had some good years, they had some terrible years, but they had lots and lots of mediocre years. Then they began strategic planning. Strategic planning is where you get together with your key management personnel and you decide, where's the company going? What's our mission? What's our vision that we talked about earlier? And how are we going to get there? And through that strategic planning process, you identify things that need to be done, who is going to be doing them, and when do they have to be accomplished. So you establish some sort of accountability during this process also. So, in the last few years of strategic planning, they have increased their gross 5 times. They have increased their net to a number that you have to write with 6 digits. They have incorporated into their processes a way to make more money, to keep more money with the strategic planning power tool. Yes.
This advertisement appeared in the local paper. I want you to read the heading of it very carefully. I don't mean to offend, but it did appear in the paper. Read the heading very carefully. A couple days later, this advertisement came out. Can you see the difference? I'm going to show the camera for a minute. This came out first, and then this one came out. Can you see the difference? Who is this particular advertiser trying to reach? Have you noticed the missing L in that word?
Oh.
Notice the missing L in that word? Who is the advertiser trying to reach? The public. Everybody in the public. We want to get our name in front of everybody in the public so we can make lots of money, right? Very